Welcome, everyone, to Let's Get Real About Addiction podcast. My name is JF Benoit. I'm the best-selling author of Addicted to the Monkey Mind.
My name is Kevin Roberge. I'm a therapist specialized into addiction. We are here to speak about the true thing with addiction. Not only the addiction live into your mind, but into your nervous system too. Right now, if you struggle with addiction, it's really important to know it's all about the emotional autonomy. Because if you don't have emotional autonomy and you're not able to take care of your own emotion, you're probably struggling with addiction just to escape the reality.
So if you are someone who is struggling with maintaining a sober lifestyle and you've battled addiction, maybe you've been sober for a little while and now you really want to learn how to maintain sobriety, or if you're a loved one, right? If you have someone in your life that is struggling with addiction, you've landed in the right place. So Kevin and I are here to really help you understand that addiction doesn't really just exist at a mind level, meaning that we can't solve the problem just by thinking about it. We have to actually go to the source of where these trigger exist in the nervous system. So you've landed in a good place. We're excited to be with you and to guide you through this process of recovery. Kevin, I'm just thrilled to be with you. I know how much you work so hard every day, and you help so many people who are struggling with addiction. And I think one of the things I really love about how you approach this is how real you are, how consistently you get to the emotion, the nervous system of what's happening. And I was thinking that we could start today by talking about perhaps some of the most classic, issues that you see that somebody who's really wanting to maintain sobriety, right? What is some of the most common situation that you see that they struggle with?
All right. I really face often people who struggle with to be mad with his wife. Okay, for example. So the guy is really mad. He struggle with all the emotion inside his body, and the strategy he probably use because he don't really know how to manage all the emotion. He just want to quit, leave the room and go use. Okay, because it's too hard to handle how the feeling, how the sensation, and you probably just know how to be mad. So,
It's like there's a knee-jerk response of feeling angry and not having any skills or knowing how to manage or even deal with that anger. So there's just now it's like the reaction is like storm off and then just go use. How do we help them begin to understand this dynamic that they're stuck in?
so the first thing at home, if you want to practice your conscientious level, it's to be honest with yourself and say, okay, now I'm just hungry. That's it. That's enough. It's the first thing, because if you don't recognize your emotion and you're not able to say it out loud, it's hard to escape this conscious or this struggling.
Yeah, what you're saying here is like, it's beautiful, which is seem quite simple, but the truth is that the person is stuck in not even acknowledging that they're angry. Right? It's like having the experience of being angry, but just then immediately just reacting from it, right? Which is just like, I'm going to cut you off. I'm just going to leave and then go use.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's in the realm of there's no awareness or acknowledgement that, oh, I'm angry.
Yeah. So, sometime, okay, if the person is able just to breathe, it's a good idea. Okay, just breathe and try to think about the emotion. Try, I said try. Okay, because it's a work in progress. Okay, it's if now you're not really able to recognize your feeling or your emotion because you're it's just a reaction. It's like an explosion. Just try to breathe, okay? But probably it's, if it's your first time and the automatic response is like go to use, maybe it's good to try to speak with your wife after you messed up, and try to search and speak about the emotion you experienced before.
You
But
mean after the fact?
yeah, exactly. Good. Like we struggled together and I quit, I use, and after I say, oh fuck, what I did. So AJF, can we speak about the fact? And not really about the fact, but can we speak about this moment? And I want to train myself to talk about my emotion. So if
Mhm.
I'm not able to do it right now, it's a good thing to start. Try to explain your emotion after.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like when you're not in the heat of the moment, you want to be able to practice going back to your partner and attempt to express right what you were experiencing. Now, the
Exactly.
challenge is, I think, for most people is how do you not go into blame, right? It's just
Yeah.
like we have such a strong tendency to believe that, oh, it was the other person, right, that caused this anger. It's like we live such in a cause and effect way of living. It's exhausting, you know. So I love what you're saying there, which is approaching it with it's never too late,
Yeah.
right? To approach ourselves, like even after the fact, we can go into shame and then shut down even more, and then we'll never communicate because we're just shutting down, right? But
Yeah.
we can actually it's almost like the idea of making a repair in some way, right? To just, okay, I wasn't able to deal with my emotion there, but now that I'm calm, I can actually go attempt to communicate now what my experience was like.
Yeah. Exactly. And the goal, it's not really to repair, but to practice yourself to express your emotion.
I see. Which is even more important because I mean the repair is important too because the person most likely felt really rejected, right?
Yeah, of
When
course.
we storm off. So maybe some acknowledgement of that. But at the same time, I think what you're saying is the focus needs to be on the practice of being vulnerable with the person, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good idea to ask your partner now. I'm just trying to connect with my emotion. Now I'm calm, so I know I messed up, but now I'm more calm, and I just want to try myself to connect with my emotion. And uh, if I can repair what I did, it's a good idea. But this is not the first goal. Now I'm really here to try to be vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and I just want to practice this thing.
Right.
So
So you're setting the tone and even asking your partner to have some grace with you, right? To make some room and saying, you can acknowledge what you did and like just briefly saying, I'm sorry I stormed off on you. And I'm realizing that I'm really struggling staying with my emotion, like
yeah,
having the experience of that emotion. And now that I'm not triggered, I'd like to see if I could communicate with you, right? What it is that I'm feeling.
exactly.
Now, let me ask you this. Why are we so why are we so reactive that way? Like what is it that why are we because in a way the reaction is the fear of connecting with the emotion, isn't it?
It's all about le conditionnement. I don't
Yeah, the
know,
conditioning, yeah.
the conditioning. Yeah. Um, so sometimes I just react, okay, because I don't really know. I blame myself to feel some discomfort emotion. Okay, so like sadness, madness, fear. It's not a negative emotion. It's not a bad emotion. It's it's just really it's just not comfortable. So I blame myself to feel this kind of emotion. I probably blame myself and feel shame to feel some discomfort emotion.
Wow. I mean, what you're saying there is like, how insane is that, right? That we can't even have the experience because the mind is too busy running a story that we're not okay because we're having that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no room in that moment. Of course, we're going to use, if we hold that belief, right, that it's not even acceptable to have the emotion that just came up. It's like, well, you might as well not have a chance at all, right? Because you can't eliminate the emotion. It's there. You're having it. You
Exactly.
know?
And it's running through all your systems. So uh, it's it's really hard to escape this emotion, because you are this emotion, or I mean this emotion just running through your body. And if you feel shame and you blame yourself to feel this kind of emotion, and it's a discomfort emotion, you are the problem. So if I'm the problem, I'm the bad one into the situation, and I don't really want to address this kind of thing with you, or because I'm the bad one. So
Right, right.
it's
So if
more
I'm
easier
bad,
to quit and just freeze all this kind of emotion.
yeah. How relieving, even as we're talking about it right now, I could just feel like some weight lifting, right? In terms of just understanding that somehow we associate emotion with being bad. Like how completely crazy making that is. And so if we associate emotion with being bad, then of course, this being bad, we don't want it, right? We just, the first thing we need to do is just, and we have no way of dealing with experiencing ourselves as bad. There's no win in this. If you're already bad just for having the emotion, then it's like it's a sealed deal. It's like you're bad, period.
Yeah.
You just had the emotion, now you're bad. So of course, the only recourse is to go use. That's insanity. I mean, that's incredible, to just becoming aware of that. So I think what you're pointing at to is the beginning is sometimes afterwards, right? It's to be able to breathe into the fact that now you're not reactive, and now you can take a stab at looking at your emotion without imposing that belief that it's bad to have this emotion, that exploring that maybe you have the right to have this emotion.
Yeah, like in the scenario we used, if you're angry with your wife and you quit, you use, and afterwards you try to train yourself to talk about the emotion you experience, and it's a good idea right now just to be okay with the fact that you were angry, and it's okay. It's not bad. It's not. It's not a sad thing. It's not. You are not a problem. You are angry. Period.
How do you think we can help ourselves validate that experience? Because I can see that that's a really tall order, right? Especially if we've had the tendency, I know people tend to measure success by their behavior, right? So it's just like if you have a relapse, the first thing that happens is the belief that I will never get better. There's no hope, right? Because I messed up again. But we're not paying attention to this dynamic that you're talking about. Because if we look at what is the source of using or wanting to use, right? The source of it is what you just named there. It's that I have a relationship with my emotion that I believe I'm bad just for having the emotion. And so if we just then afterwards just judge ourselves because we use, then we're not opening the opportunity to look at the dynamic of what happened first that led me to use.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem in addiction, right? It's consistently not making room for making a mistake. It's like if there's never room to make a mistake, And it can be really hard to understand because, of course, we don't want to use, right? We don't want to say to ourselves, oh, that's okay that you went to use, because then we feel like we're reinforcing, right, that it's okay to use. And that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is put aside that behavior for a second, right? Put it aside and see if you can go back to the moment before you used, the moment where you believed that it was bad to have an emotion, now that you're more regulated, and see if you can go back and navigate that. That will give you an opportunity next time when you get mad to not be so reactive.
Yeah, exactly. This is the window we want to analyze. Mm-hmm. It's before you use. You probably experience a bad feeling with your own emotion. So if you don't analyze this part and you're rude to yourself and you reinforce you reinforce into your mind, this is the bad part, because I don't feel great and I'm the problem. So at this moment, if I can't practice again, and like you know, JF, I'm struggling with my emotion right now. Be angry, it's hard for me. Like, I don't
Right.
really feel good into my body when I'm angry, and I'm at another level. Maybe I can say, and I'm fear when I'm angry, because
Right.
I'm fear, and I don't want to lose the control.
Right. I'm afraid, right?
Yeah,
I'm afraid when I get angry, I get really scared.
exactly.
And what a beautiful place to start, right? Because that's the opposite of believing that I'm bad for the emotion. It's the ability to be vulnerable with oneself and just naming, wow, I do get really scared when the anger pops up,
Yeah.
right?
Sometimes, like many times, I have the client I worked with. If you feel angry,
Yeah.
search about the search about what are you afraid. It's a good sign. If you are angry, try to use your brain and find about what you are afraid.
What could be some example of what someone could be afraid of when they're angry?
Um, Sometimes I can be afraid to be reject.
Yeah, to be rejected by the other person.
Yeah, exactly. Or I said in French, d'être invalidé.
Yeah, so that I'm going to be invalidated.
Yeah,
That it's like what I'm experiencing. So it's going to prove to me, right? That's probably the biggest fear, because in that moment, it's going to validate the fact that I believe I'm bad for having an emotion.
exactly.
If the other person rejects me for having this emotion.
Exactly. So I think this is the most common
Fear.
fear. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe I'm just afraid to be wrong. I'm bad.
Right.
So I'm the problem. I'm the bad guy. It's not okay
I
to
love that you keep,
so,
yeah, I love that you keep coming back to this saying, I'm the problem. As soon as you say that, I can really feel how much the nervous system is caught into that belief, right? It's like, that's one of the major roots of addiction, is like, I'm the problem.
yeah,
So if I'm the problem, then there's nothing to be done. That's kind of like almost end of conversation, right? And no wonder that would lead me to want to use, because it's, how else can I escape that? I'm the problem.
exactly. And the strategy here, when you use, it's because
Yeah, fundamentally, yeah,
fundamentally, yeah. Sorry.
it's all good.
I try to be kind of myself, and if I don't know how to deal with this kind of discomfort emotion when I use for a short period, it's good for me. So
Right.
it's a strategy to try to be kind with me.
Right, right. And I love that you say that, because I think this can be the beginning antidote to realizing that this idea that I'm bad could be remedied by opening ourselves up, right, to the fact that we want to use because we want to appease the anxiety that we're having, right? So beginning to understanding that, and appeasing anxiety can never make us a bad person. It just makes us a person that's like, and of course, so it's a person that wants to alleviate the pain. So that cannot be bad. It's just a good intention. At the same time, we have to recognize that the behavior, though, of using has so much side effects that it leaves us, it leaves a lot of ripples on the pond for ourselves and other people that are not conducive to a healthy living, right? That create a lot of damage along the way. So we have to be careful, because we can slip so fast into going back into I'm bad, because we now see the damage that we might create through our behaviors, right?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. But the initial behavior's intention was to relieve anxiety.
Exactly, and take care of yourself. So the most important thing here, it's like you said, sometimes we blame ourselves because we relapse, okay? But if you relapse, okay, I don't approve the relapse because it's dangerous, okay? You can be stuck in this place and it's really dangerous. But if you relapse, it's a good idea to practice to take care of your thought, your mind, and just understand that, okay, now it's not a good strategy, but I try to take care of myself.
Right. Put the focus on the fact that that is a deep truth.
Yeah.
That even though the behavior is not something we want, right? We don't want to relapse. We don't want to use. Okay, we get that. But it's almost like the addiction is to want to judge the behavior. That's like what it feels like, right? It's like an obsession to not, like, the belief that if I keep judging my behavior, somehow that's going to help me stop, right?
Yeah.
How crazy that is, because it doesn't help us stop, right? Because the more we judge ourselves, the more it keeps creating more anxiety, and the more anxiety we feel, then our only recourse to anxiety is to use again.
Yeah, and I reinforce I reinforce it into myself that I'm the problem, because I try to correct myself, not connect to myself. So if I,
Right. That's beautiful. It's so the core, right? It's like we don't know how to connect with ourselves. We know how to correct ourselves.
yeah,
And we're bought into, I mean, that's like an important aspect of what I've written in Addicted to the Monkey Mind. I think that people really relate to is this mind that won't stop shaming ourselves for what we do. And we unconsciously subscribe to that mindset. Like, it's interesting on Amazon, how people, Amazon has a way to pick out the most quoted part of the book that people have reflected. And the most quoted one in the book is, I say, the promise of shame is that it will make you a better person, but the result of shame is that it makes you feel worthless. And that's really the core of what we're talking about, is that we do have to learn to connect with ourselves, because without that connection, right, without making an attempt to, it's beautiful what you were saying, to connect with the emotional body, to go back when we are no longer triggered, and attempt to communicate. That's an attempt at connection. That's an attempt to put down the shame, right? And just being obsessed with the behavior and correcting that behavior, and leaving room to meet ourselves where we're at.
yeah.
You know?
I think it's important here. The This is why I'm talking a lot about the emotional autonomy. Okay, because I know in your book, you really, yeah, you speak really often about the conditioning, and I think it's really close, okay, with my concept about the emotional autonomy. Because when you realize, okay, your mind drive something like you are bad or whatever, it's all about the fact you are not able to validate your own emotion. So you're
Hmm.
not really emotional, in emotional autonomy.
Right. It's like you don't have the right to your own emotions,
Exactly.
but yet the emotions are there, and so you don't develop a sense of worth about your emotions.
Yeah,
Right? Is
exactly.
that
And you reject a part of you. Because if I, like, for example, if I feel sad right now, and I think it's bad to feel sad because I don't really have, um, like, we do a podcast, so right now, why I'm sad, it's not really a good thing, but I can be sad right now and it's fine, because it's not the sadness, it's not me, but it's running into my body, and it's okay if I feel sad, but I need to, um, be empathic with
yeah, being
myself.
empathetic towards yourself
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
for sure.
It's
And
fine if I said, uh, "Hey, JF, I'm okay to do the podcast today, but to be honest, I'm sad, and I don't want to explain why. This is just what I experience right now, but I need to be kind with myself to accept that I'm sad right now, and it's okay.
and
I'm
the
worth it."
trip right, and the trippy part about what you're saying is it's very challenging to reach that emotional autonomy that you're talking about when I'm dominating by the fear of being rejected,
Yeah,
right? Because that's really the dynamic. If I believe I'm bad for having emotion, then of course I believe that others are going to reject me for having an emotion,
yeah. The fear of belonging.
right? It's just, in those moments it seems so real, right? It seems so. If we look at this dynamic, though, I think it's important to understand that the majority of the time we get rejected with our emotion because we are being reactive, right? Nobody wants an explosion, right? So it's just like, and where the emotional autonomy you're talking about is not a reaction, it's an ownership of the emotion. It's very different than having an outburst of emotion,
Yeah.
right?
The standard of the society doesn't really accept, like, the this kind of emotion. In French, we say une norme, the standard.
Right, the
Like,
norm.
yeah, exact. So it's not okay to be angry, but, like, it's important to split something, okay? Because you can be angry, but it's not okay to aggress, or to be
Right, to act
violent.
it out.
Yeah, acting out, exactly. I can be angry right now, but I it's not necessarily important to acting out my feeling. I can be calm and say, JF, I'm really angry right now. I don't feel respect, and it's really different than blah 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 blah, and I
Right.
just
It's
burst.
right to have an outburst and towards the other person. So it's the beginning of understanding that reacting from an emotion is not the same as having the emotion,
Exact.
right? So when we're in busy reacting, we're in blame most of the time. So we're thinking that the cause of our anger is the other person, it's what they said, it's, all of that. And that's not emotional autonomy.
Exactly. At this moment, we lost the responsibility about our own emotion.
Right.
So
And
if I'm not responsible about my emotion and I blame the environment, I can I can't take care of myself because I
right.
don't have any tools. It's not my fault.
How, here's the thing though, it's like it's so challenging, especially when you're, just getting familiar with this process. It's so tempting to want to blame, right? It's so tempting to like say, God damn, you're so annoying, or you're just so demanding, or you're just so whatever. And that's where the mind is going. And but what we're saying is that's masking the fear inside that I'm bad because I'm having an emotion. Like, it's like, how do we get to that anger and not go into blame? You know?
I think it's a really good point because I think at this moment when I blame the environment um, and I don't responsibilize my own emotion.
Right. I'm not taking
Yeah,
responsibility for that
yeah,
emotion.
exactly. Um, at this moment, it's like when I use drugs or alcohol, I try to cope with myself, and it's a it's a strategy to be kind with myself because I don't want to blame me more. So if I blame the environment, it's a an escape strategy. Like when I use and I try to cope with my bad feeling, it's an escape strategy. I try to escape the blame, the shame. So if it's your fault because I feel angry, I try to escape this bad feeling and this bad thought about myself. I don't
Hmm.
want to be the bad person. So if you are the bad person, I feel a bit more good because it's not myself. It's not myself anymore. So
And both of those strategies are a false way of attempting to relieve ourselves from the anger that we're feeling, right? So
yeah,
if it's the cause of the other person, or if I go use, I get temporary relief that I'm
temporary.
not bad, but it doesn't last, because after I'm done using or after I'm done blaming the other person, I still have to deal with the fact that I'm still this person who's bad, you know?
Yeah,
So I like what you keep bringing us back to, which is kindness. How do we develop the ability to be kind towards? I think it's about beginning with the intention, meaning our intention to use or to blame. The intention is to try to soothe ourselves from this uncomfortable feeling that we're having. So we're not bad for that. And how can we be kind and recognize that, okay, I've attempted to do that for a long time, but it's still not addressing, acknowledging my emotion, right? Acknowledging how I'm feeling and what's going on. So can I have some kindness that I've been caught in these false ways of operating, right? And can I be like open some kind of compassion towards myself and say, I'm terrified of this emotion,
yeah,
and let's start there. Let's start by naming that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That I'm,
Because
I'm really terrified.
if you keep the fear, or if you keep this feeling to be afraid, you're stuck into this emotion. So it's really hard to address the other one. And the other one, it's like in this scenario, it's about the angry. So to be angry. So if I
Yeah.
try to connect with my own fear and I'm afraid to talk about the fact that I'm angry, this is a really good tips to begin. But
I love,
it's like mechanic. Okay, so if I want to be better into mechanic with my car, I need to practice. But the first time, if it's the first time, I take the tool and I watch a video YouTube, and I don't really know how to be good with this tool. I need to practice, and if I do it, okay, I feel better with these tools. So it's the same with the emotion and the communication. If I try to speak with my partner about how I feel, about my fear, about my hungry, about like it's really it's not really comfortable for the first time, but after few moments you're really better with this discomfort. You probably feel discomfortable, but it's fine, it's okay, because when we are vulnerable, like, I'm a therapist and it's hard for me too when um, I face this kind of situation with my home partner or my friends or with you, or it's hard for me. I need to practice to be vulnerable, and it's sometimes it's not really comfortable. But I repeat it into myself. It's okay. It's okay, Kevin. You are afraid. It's okay, Kevin. You are angry. It's okay. Just try to connect with this and ask at your partner. It's hard for me to explain what I'm feeling right now, what I'm experiencing. So to be kind, you talk about the kindness, and I need to I need to observe myself, and just don't try to judge it. Just to observe. Okay, it's hard for me, and it's fine, and it's okay if I mention that it's hard for me. I'm not bad.
I absolutely love what you're saying here. And I think I'd like to summarize for the listeners that in a lot of us have a habit of wanting to sort of get the entire enchilada all at once, right? That we just want to solve all of our problems. We just want to, and that is something that makes it impossible for us to change. And so I want to summarize here as we close our episode today that it's so beautiful what you're saying, which is the first place to start is about acknowledging how much there's a fear that's present about even having the anger, right? It's kind of like, and we don't even need necessarily to go and deeply and trying to figure out initially why we're angry and all of this, right? What if we could start by just expressing that, right?
Exactly.
Well, and that is the beginning towards having an experience of kindness, and it'll open the door to eventually start building a relationship towards that emotional autonomy that you're talking about, right? And so I want to invite you as the reader, when you're listening to this, to really know that it is possible to divide things in very, very small bites, right? And that you don't need to eat the whole meal all at once, right? You can just imagine having little appetizers, and you can divide it and give yourself a chance, because initially it feels so big to deal with that this makes it much more manageable. So how beautiful. And I think that is an act of kindness to be able to divide it in small doses like this, right?
Yeah, it's a process. So you need to walk step by step and understand that it's a process. I can reach the goal right now. If I want to climb the mountain, I need to reach each step. So
Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get to the top, but it's like an elk, it's like stamina. It's about pacing ourselves to get there. So beautiful. Thank you, Kevin.
nice.
Click on the link in the description below to record one of the questions you may have that we'll answer on one of our future podcasts. Also, I'd like to invite you to be a guest so that we can support you in delving deeper in resolving some of the core issues that you might be dealing with. Don't forget to check out my link for my books, also our newsletter, online groups, and the weekend adventures that I offer.